Chairman of the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, Hashim Abioye, has claimed that operatives of the Nigerian police force have arrested staff of the commission who are on election duty across the state. Abioye made the claim in a video posted on the commission's official X page on Saturday. While commending the electorates for coming out to exercise their rights, Hashim appealed to the media community for the inability of the commission to provide accreditation materials. He stated that it was the police who had sealed off the OSSIEC head office where the materials were kept. Abioye, however, assured voters that materials had been deployed to affected areas, adding that there were sufficient resources on ground to proceed with the election. He apologized to journalists for the accreditation issues, attributing them to the police sealing off the commission's office. The only thing is that in some of the areas in which materials are supposed to have arrived for voters to cast their votes, we had reports of police arresting our officials. I don't know on whose order, but there is no court order that warranted the arrest of officers or our officials. As it is, we have deployed materials to those units because we have enough on ground. For our people in the media community, I want to apologize for the inadequacy on the tags and the jackets because we have enough. But the police sealed our office and that was not warranted at all, Abioye said. George, what do you make of this move by the police, considering that there were calls, asking Governor Adeleke not to go on with the election? Prior to this incident and this election happening, the embattled local government chairman in Osun State were reinstalled. They were actually removed from office by a high court in Osun State and then reinstalled by an appeal court. And on the heels of the installment, the governor is going ahead with the local government elections, and that caused a lot of crisis, particularly when the reinstalled local government chairman wanted to assume office. There were clashes which resulted to death of some members of some persons in Osun State, as well as the death of one of the reinstated chairmen. And now this election, despite calls for the governor not to hold the election, happened, and OSSIEC is coming out to accuse the police of sealing OSSIEC headquarters and arresting their staff.
Well, I must say that I really do not understand what this country, is actually heading to politically. A court actually removed the sitting chairman, and the chairman went on appeal, which is normal, and appeal court reinstated them, giving their declaration that this man should be reinstated to the position which they were occupying before the High Court sacked them. And the governor of the state, who feels that he's the law to himself, decided to go ahead to conduct the election, causing breach of security in the state that led to people's, losing their life and all of that. So I think that the governor should be called to order. We must understand the sanctity of the courts. Whatever decision the court takes is sacrosanct. That is why we have different levels of courts. After the first instance, you have the right to appeal. After that, you still have the right to go further for judicial interpretation by the Supreme Court. That is the final arbiter. And whatever position they take, whether rightly or wrongly, I use the word rightly or wrongly because to some persons, they may want to feel aggrieved that the decision reached by the court is not the right one. So, but the court is the final arbiter when it comes to, issues bordering on disputes, disagreement between one faction and another. So, the governor, who by himself is the creation of the law, that he becomes the governor today is because of the law. There was provision made by the law for election to hold, and people came out, voted, after which he was sworn in as the governor. So he should not be seeing himself as a law unto himself. Therefore, I am saying that the governor is completely or was wrong at the time that he went ahead to conduct the election. What is the desperation for one would want to ask? We say we operate a rule of law, where the judiciary is one arm of the government, as was recognized by the Constitution, the ground norm. and they have given an order that these people were wrongly dismissed from office. I'm talking about the appeal court judgment. Please reinstate these people. The governor had no other reason to go ahead to conduct that election. So coming to the police still in the office, I think the police is trying to affect the ruling of the appeal court. Because
but the governor still went ahead with the elections, and the results are actually out, and the PDP swept the entire seats, both chairmanship seats and councillorship seats, as it were. Now, interestingly, this reinstated chairman, their tenure ends October 2025, so that's just a few months away. The question would be, which brings me to another question. This reinstated chairman, is the governor intending to inaugurate them to take over from chairmen whose tenure have not expired?
that is exactly the point we are talking about.
Or would they wait till October to take over from the outgoing chairman, as it were? So that's what I want to understand.
The issue here is that those who the court reinstated, their tenure has not elapsed. And don't also be surprised that after now, if they are reinstated, which is the position of the law, and they begin to act as chairman of their respective local government council area and all of that, the same people may decide to go for court for another interpretation for the period under which they were not allowed to act. So you talking about their tenure coming to an end by October, it may not actually come to an end by October. Because if they go to court to look into the matter within the period which they were fighting their matter in the court, and with this disruption that just came up, it has affected, whether it is 2-3 days, that the court should look into the matter and see if they can extend their tenure beyond the normal October date and all of that.
Is it the function of the court, is the function of the state houses of assembly to extend the tenure of local government chairmen? And
no, we are talking about the wrongful dismissal of this man from office. They have a term, and that term is for 3 years, from so time to so time. If for any reason something happened within that period unlawfully that removed them from office, they have the right to go to court for judicial interpretation
and extension,
seeking for extension of that period, or if it is 1 week or 2 weeks, the court should be added to their tenure.
Now, that's on one hand. Let's also look at the constitutional provision for holding elections, council elections in this instance. It's provided that these council elections, campaigns, the calendar for campaigns should be released 3 months to the expiration of the tenure of the council chairman. Now, if the council chairman in Osun State, their tenure is to expire by October, now it's expected that OSSIEC would have released the date if they are to work constitutionally. The date should have been released around, say, July, August. You understand? In view of elections in October and subsequent inauguration and handover of the elected council chairman. What would now say, if we are to follow constitutional provision for council elections, would one say that, okay, these people are working in tandem? Now, that will also bring into question the legality of this election that is being conducted.
Well, it's unfortunate that we are in this situation. What is happening in Osun State is not just new. It is what you see happening across the entire length and breadth of this country when it comes to local government election. Most of these governors, because this is what they are used to, unknown to them, or maybe they are just trying to test the waters, that the Supreme Court's judicial interpretation on the local government autonomy has changed a whole lot. So this also boils down that the National Assembly need to make a law that will allow INEC to be conducting election into the local council. That way there will be some
I was
kind of
actually
balance.
coming to that because, with regards to when the local government, the local government autonomy judgment came from Supreme Court, there were concerns around that, because it's one thing to have fiscal autonomy and another thing to have electoral autonomy, a situation where the governors are unable to have this overbearing power as to who emerges. Because at the end of the day, if financial autonomy is removed from governors, the next thing they will do is to do everything humanly possible to ensure that their boys are installed as chairmen. By extension, they still wield this enormous influence and authority over these people. Now, but there have been concerns around this issue you just brought up, having INEC to conduct elections.
Yeah.
And I recall that one time this issue was brought up on the House of the National Assembly. Two things. They were looking at either INEC conducting election or, you know, prepare or establishing a federal electoral body for local government. Yes, for conduct of local government elections. Do you think, considering that INEC is also saddled with its own challenges with respect to, I mean, there is trust deficits between Nigerians and INEC as a body because of, you know, the conduct of elections over the years. Do you think that INEC is truly the way to go at this point? Are they any better off than the state electoral bodies?
My response to you on this question is that no matter how you look at it, even with the distrust from Nigerian people to INEC, with INEC shortcomings and all of that, INEC conducting election into the local government offices, the local government administration, will be far, 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 far better than where the State Independent Electoral Commission conducts the election. The State Independent Electoral Commission is under the apron strings of the governor of the state. He funds them, he appoints them, so whatever he wants, they will do for him. And if you look at the trajectory, the trend over the years, it has always been a one-party thing. Sometimes they sit and allocate results. You know, it's not actually the outcome of the voting on the field that reflect the results of the election in all the states. It's usually the ruling party at the state level that takes the lion's share. Sometimes they just say, okay, let's make it look as if there were other parties. There are lots, one or two, maybe a councillorship or one or two chairmen, who later will even rejoin them as because it is part of what they are doing. So INEC conducting will give some kind of satisfaction to other parties. Okay. It will give some kind of, it will create an air of we are parties. Fair play kind of air, because it is believed that INEC is actually independent, even though they are humans and they are product of the Nigerian state, where the governors can actually influence them one way or the other. But you see some level of confidence from the opposition parties. Okay. That at least INEC is coming, because INEC will try as much as possible to be transparent in whatever they are doing. Distribution of materials. The
influence of governors will be lesser.
Yes, kind of, compared to when they have the State Independent Electoral Commission.
And will not have political parties pulling out of local government elections.
These are the issues.
Because they know that they don't even stand a chance.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
And where they lose the election, they also know that it is possible, if they have their result, assuming maybe they were rigged out. With what they have in the field, they can actually, approach the tribunal and get results.
Now, talking about the tribunal, because I was actually going to head there, currently local government elections, the tribunal ends still, at the state level. So you are appealing the outcome of an election against the person that conducted that election, and that is why it's as if one would say we don't get to hear about local government elections tribunal, because how do you appeal, elections that is being conducted by the governor and you're appealing to the governor? Now, but if INEC starts, conducting local government elections, do you see a situation where this election tribunal extends beyond the election tribunal and probably extends even beyond the High Court of the states? Do you see that happening, extending beyond the High Court of the state and getting to the appeal court like you can get in the legislative
It has to be
elections?
A creation of the law. Okay. It has to be, as we speak today, there's no such law backing that up.
Yes.
So if we want that to happen, it has to be a creation of the law from the National Assembly, that if they create, an independent electoral commission, maybe a separate one, or asking INEC, as it is constituted presently, to handle the election into the local government, they should also create institution where the tribunal will get to a certain level. You understand? But
right.
that is also the failure of institutions, I must tell you. Because if these institutions are working effectively without having to kowtow to, you know, the man that calls the shots, I don't think we will have to belabor ourselves with creating enormous laws here and there. Some things should be allowed to, you know, happen within the jurisdiction, within the state. You understand? But the challenge we have is that the institutions are not working. They are products of the Nigerian state, and everybody is looking for a way.
How do you see OSSIEC as an institution working when, I mean, the governor appoints the OSSIEC chairman? Well, let me not even talk about OSSIEC. The state's electoral bodies. How do you see it working when it is the prerogative of the governor to appoint the chairman, hire and fire at will, right? The staff of electoral bodies are being paid by the state as well. Is it not going to be a situation or a case of he who pays the piper dictating?
That is exactly the point.
Will there ever be transparency in council elections as long as state electoral bodies are conducting
This is
an
indictment on the humans that mans this organization. Obviously, if I want to be realistic in what we are discussing here, I will tell you that there will not be transparency, because he who, you know, pays the piper dictates the tune. You understand? It's obvious. This is the kind of reality of the Nigerian state we have seen today. That is what we see. But unfortunately, the states need to begin to look for a way. If it is created, even with the one we are talking about, INEC, they are still not, like, there's this distrust between Nigerian electorate and INEC. But I believe the beating will continue until morale improves. That is an indictment on the human person manning all these positions. We need to have those that have the character. You understand? If you're choosing to, you know, head such organization, you try as much as possible to bring transparency, you know, into the job you're doing, and that also will kind of assist the state to run the way it should run.
Right.
Unfortunately, what we see today, like what is happening in Osun State, is regrettable, especially when a court of competent jurisdiction has given a judgment. The governor has no reason. He has no reason not to abide by that decision. Right. Look at October, just a few months from now. What is he looking for that he cannot wait?
Is that not the
so that we do not have these constitutional breaches here and there?
All right, very well. And